welcome to episode 36 of the BOWTIEGUY podcast. On today's episode, we're going to check and wreck that student engagement and student achievement. How are we going to do that, cuz? What we're going to do, we're going to dive in deep into the godfather of educational research, Robert J. Marzano, and his book, which is one of my personal favorite professional books, The New Art and Science of Teaching. Well, what element are we going to be popping on today? Let me tell you something. You know what's important? Understanding students' backgrounds and interests. Why? In a previous podcast episode, we talked about the invaluable research that supplies the fact that if you have a good relationship with your students, each and every one of your students, it's an authentic relationship, one that is built on trust, one that is reciprocal in the sense that, you know what? When you're having a bad day, they're going to be there for you. When they're having a bad day, you're going to be there for them. Here's what you need to understand about element 39. Pop in. Understanding students' backgrounds and interests, because that's extremely important as well. The strategies within this element help build students' perception that their teachers and their peers respect them. I'll tell you this right now. Respect is powerful in your classroom, because if the teacher can get respect, if the students can get respect, if the system within itself, I'm talking the admin, the custodians, if you have this symbiotic system of respect, I tell you what, there's no one that will work harder for another person as long as they respect that person. Am I right? Now, this is accomplished by structuring activities that subtly disclose each student's accomplishments, their likes and their dislikes. You know what? One thing that I love to advocate, and especially since we've had this flood, this avalanche of that taboo word, differentiation. How can you know that you know that you know that you're differentiating in your classroom? Why don't you hit up some anecdotal records? How hard is it to draw tic-tac-toe? I'm for real. Why don't you draw some boxes on a sheet of paper? You know, just put initials of the kids, or make a ghetto fabulous seating chart. And I tell you why. Because if you can put a check mark, if you can put an X mark, if you can put, any kind of calligraphy that you can think of, any symbology that you can think of, then you know what? You're differentiated. Why? Because you have to have the mindset. Every child, every day, in any way, because you need to show that you're trying, man and woman. You need to understand that, you know what, it's not okay in the 21st century for a kid to be bored. It's not okay for a kid to be disengaged, and it's not okay for a kid to fall through the cracks. And I'm looking at you, RTI process. Now, what can we use? What strategies can we utilize to better understand students' backgrounds and interests to enhance that student engagement and student achievement? Well, first and foremost, what about a student background surveys? I'll tell you what, I've never been blubbering more like a whale when I read the surveys that I sent home, not to the students, to the parents. Why? Because you know what? I don't know that kid from Adam at the beginning of the year, but you know who does? Their caregivers, their guardians, their parents, their moms, their dads, their cousins, whatever. Whoever's taking care of them at home, here's the thing you need to understand. They have insight to that child that you don't. And you need to utilize that insight, that experience, to capitalize upon gains that you're seeing, good things you're seeing. And you know what? I love, and I don't know how popular this is going to be, but you know what? Accountability, is a ooby-dooby, wonderful sense of course correction. Why? Because there's no one that a child wants to be on a phone with or wants to have a conference with rather than their parent. Look, they don't want to talk to their parent. They don't want to talk to their guardian. They don't want to talk because, look, they have to face up, baby. They have to face the music. Because if you thinking it's a pony show, it's a circus in the classroom, but then your parent thinks one thing, that's why constant communication is key. But getting back on topic, you got to understand that parents can really give you a lot of insight. Guess who else can give you a lot of insight? The students of which you're teaching. Because at the start of the school year or the beginning of a course, you know what? A good teacher gives background questions, background questionnaires, background surveys that contain questions that are relevant to the students' lives. You know what? Your survey can include questions about their academic interests, such as their least favorite subject in school. You know what? You can include something about their personal interests, hobbies, sports that they play, lessons, whether they go to music lessons or art lessons or horse lessons. You know what? What kind of books do they like? I like getting insight, especially as a reading teacher. I love getting insight about what kinds of books they like, or if they even like reading at all. Because I tell you, one of the biggest challenges I face are kids that just do not like to read. They just have negative experiences with reading, and that's something that I love to conquer. And a lot of it has to do with approach. So if I know that if I give out a survey, if I give out a little questionnaire that gives me insight to, I guess, their motivations and things that, I guess, hinder or detract from their motivation, that's something that I'm going to be cognizant of, especially writing down on an anecdotal record. So I could check and wreck it, or I can chart progress of some of these subtleties that we're trying to disclose, okay? So next, what about individual teacher-student conferences? I was always trying to do a really good job of this, trying to keep good documentation always when, you meet with a parent, always when you meet with, as a team or whatever the case may be with other teachers. But what about documenting that meeting that you have with that child? Now look, my office, I have two offices. One's that, well, I never owned a desk. I'll have to get to that in another episode. But I will tell you this, that my other office was out in the hallway. Why? Because I never wanted to embarrass children. Do you like being embarrassed? Do you like being called out? I sure don't. And so, you want to show that human touch to teaching, that human touch to approach. You don't want to embarrass anyone. Do you like getting embarrassed? Do you like getting called out for something you're not doing right? Or what about this? I like to praise in public, but if I have to discuss something that needs to be discussed about a failure to adhere to our rules and procedures, you know what? Perhaps maybe I start one-on-one, mano y mano, or womano, if that's the case. Because the teacher's schedules, you can schedule an individual student-teacher conference. Now, that's just coming out in the office. And it's something that, like a good manager of a baseball team, they'll have a one-on-one. If they see something, they'll just do it. And that's good teaching, because you just call it for when you see it. But you want to take into consideration feelings, okay? In an individual teacher-student conference, a good teacher will cover both academic and non-academic areas to better understand the student. So if a student is struggling with behavior, perhaps, I can ask, what is it about the content? What is it about this that you're not exactly liking? Because the behavior is indicative of my lesson. And I kind of take it offensively, not to them, but I need to know what I can change to better, engage, connect with that student. Okay, and so an individual teacher-student conference is fantastic. Now, what about this? In my last year of teaching, my 10th year, I would like to think that I did a really good job with newsletters. And can I be very honest with you? I didn't do many newsletters throughout the first 9 years, and I'll tell you why. Because there was just a lack of consistency. But I tell you what, with my newsletters, I called it the Horton Happenings newsletter. And I tell you what, it was just packed with information, packed with student, I just went over the top. Why? Just because I just felt like, the customer service aspect of teaching, like I needed to prove myself to these parents, to these stakeholders. And I want to blow their minds with my creativity. And so, like, I love giving highlights. I had like a student of the week. See, the school itself had a student of the month, but I didn't think that was good enough, because on our team we had 105-ish kids come and go, take a few, give a few. But here's the thing, that gives us not that many kids to select for the entire year. And I think that, with as many kids as we touched, had the contact with every day, it was essential that I tried to highlight one a week. And so, I wanted to show that, my students, and I always chose the ones that were in danger of falling through the cracks. And what I'm saying is their behavior was on fleek. Academically, perhaps maybe they're on fleek, but they just get overlooked for whatever reason. And some of the kids that I chose, they needed a scaffold. They needed just a vote of confidence. And I tell you, a vote of confidence, look, for even adults, can boost you to the moon. Am I right or am I wrong? Now, get familiar with the student's culture. There's nothing wrong with doing some extra research, because I don't like judging. You like when someone judges you? Look, empathy. I teach it all year long. E is for empathy. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. It's important that we understand students' backgrounds and interests, because you can check and wreck that student engagement and achievement. This is the Bowtie Guy, episode 36. Pop and we out.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.